an alcoholic, they have to admit there's a problem. They have to be honest and say, yes, I'm an alcoholic, and this is what I'm going to do about it, you know? And so we see the breakdown. And in the breakdown, so I don't see this as a short-term thing. Let me just say that on a real practical level, Mother Earth has us down. She has us in timeout so that we can reimagine and rethink our world. Okay. On the other hand, while this is happening, all of the lies and all of the ways in which the structures we have created are falling apart and do not serve us are coming into our awareness. And it's like that Hopi prophecy. You know, they say, you know, the time of the lone wolf is over. And what they say is it is time to let go of the shore and let the river carry you and see who is there with you. Because that's what this is about, the structures, that's the shore. We can't hold on to those things that give us that illusion of safety. The paradigm is, the veil is falling. And when we can name it and call it out for what it is, then we can take steps forward. And there's lies coming from all over. You know, I mean, and there's no one side that has the truth. No Republican, no Democrat, no, the truth is kind of elusive. And it's our job to follow the threads that show up as truth in our heart. Like if something doesn't make sense and you go, but yeah, they're saying this, you know, let's say just for example, like social isolation. Is that really helping? Is that helping more than hurting? You know, there's so many new suicides are up, domestic violence is up, you know, child molestation is up. People's, you know, and just this is just an example for myself that I want to share that I was such an eye opener for me. I haven't had any physical contact in almost 3 months because I was sick. I actually believe I had the coronavirus back in late February, and I was self-isolating in myself because, you know, I didn't know what I had, but I knew it was not well, and I could tell you all the symptoms, but they line up as a relatively mild case, but I'm sure I had it. And right after that, we went into, California was one of the first states that went into social distancing. And so I haven't had any physical contact with people. And I was at the park on Sunday, and I saw some friends, and we hugged. And it was like, oh, my God. You know. And I know people were looking at us against the wall for hugging. But I recognized how that opened my heart, and that my heart was starting to shut down because I had gone to my head. You know, I was living there, was arguing with people, and I realized at that moment that it was time for me to do some soul tending and some relationship tending, you know, because my heart, I wasn't being kind to people because I had this desire to be right, and it all was kind of coming together. And I felt this huge shift, and I recognized this was one of the side effects of the social, and for me it's social isolation. It's not social distancing, it's isolation. And how hurtful that was to me, and I feel like this is probably hurtful to other people as well, that you get disconnected from your heart. And the thing is, that's where we need to be as we move through this. So what is that this meme that's going around, you know, saying, you know, that something about what is it? As the veil is falling, we all need to stay connected to each other, you know, and as we pull the veil back, that's right, as it's saying, right? So, you know, and so the second piece of this, as we are down in the great pause, the great reset, whatever we want to call it, it is a time for reimagining and revisioning our world. Because, I mean, I don't know if you've seen it in New York. You know, they actually said this was an experiment in remote learning. And, of course, there's all kinds of potential horrible problems with that, you know, and Mother Earth is telling us that we just cannot be traveling in the way we have been, commuting, traveling. It's like, you know, I feel like this is a direct missive from her, and she's more powerful than any of us. And when I really got that is when I was able to settle down. And that doesn't mean this other stuff isn't going on and people don't have to make a living and people don't, on all of the draconian measures that are being taken. That's my perspective. That's not the astrology, just so I can clarify that. That, yes, it doesn't make that any less true. It is happening. And it gives us time to wake up and pay attention to what is really happening and how are we going to move forward. So both are going on, the breakdown and the reimagining. We are not yet in the rebirth. And that's why this is such a hard place to be, because we don't know. But, things are not going back to normal because they're not meant to go back to normal. Things weren't working for a whole lot of people. And in this time of great change, there are people that are going to be crossing over. I mean, this is a Pluto time. The population and it's not, and I'm going to also share this. I feel like it's also an existential look at our fear of death. It is normal for older people to die, for the elderly to die in nursing homes. And I would pray to the goddess that if I had to go to a nursing home, I would much rather get the flu. Just let me go. Just take me. I do not want to be there because we are warehousing our elderly and keeping them alive with medications, petrochemicals, and it's not a good situation. It's the best we have because the economy has required us to warehouse our elderly, but we keep our elderly alive a lot longer than they need to be kept alive. So I feel like that is another piece that is coming up, our existential fear of death, death is part of life. And I'm a hospice nurse, so, this is much more comfortable for me than some people, I'm sure. And yet it's here, And so, and then I know, Sonya, you were asking about the economy. I think everything's is going to be revisioned. My heart breaks for those people that are going to be suffering so much, and that's going to happen. And yet, let's just say sometimes it's how to make lemons out of lemonade. And an example I'm going to use, is the remote schooling that is being looked at very strongly in New York State that may travel to the rest of the country. People might want homeschooling. Put it this way, homeschooling may really become a much more prevalent thing. And with that, there's more freedom, like, gardening, like teaching the children different kinds of skills and learning them yourself. And, there's all, as they say, necessity is the mother of invention. And by kind of being able to look at what is happening, knowing this is a bigger picture. This is not just a moment in time. We have gone too far in our poisoning of Mother Earth, and she's putting us in timeout, in the great pause. And it's not to punish us. It is to help us make a shift that needs to happen, because what has been happening has not been working for a whole lot of people. And a whole lot of the sickness in our structures is showing up, even when we're in lockdown, the inequity, the inequality, the racism. I mean, it's just, as well as all of these, sicknesses coming up. So, and there's more I have to say, but I know I've talked a lot, so I want to give you time to ask questions of what I see or talk about it and make comments. Just talk.
Sonya, do you want to start us off?
Sure. I hear some feedback.
I think we both do.
Okay. No, I agree with you, Sibyl. Things are not going to go back to, and I do the little finger air quotes, back to normal, because normal was not functional.
Right.
Certainly for the mass majority, for the 99%, so to speak. So it's time. I mean, it's time for a change. Of course, and I understand, that there are going to be people who do get hurt that will be affected. Okay, because pain is a part of growth. So there will be people who will be adversely affected, and that's part of it too. I mean, yeah, this change is coming. So, and a lot of people should really want it, and we have to emphasize perceiving the good in this experience. It's, it's easy to run down the road of conspiracy, and, it may be true, it may not be true. I don't really care because it doesn't benefit us to run down that road. So let's stay focused on, like you said, education system may change. And right now, people, parents shudder, especially working parents, shudder the thought of, I can't stay home, but everything is going to change. It's not just going to be one thing. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to change the education system and everybody still has to go to, corporate America and work from, 8 to 6. There's going to be some major changes, but people need to start. This is why spirituality, this is why knowing yourself is critical, for lack of a better term, because you will not harbor the fear that, of course, is being spewed all around us and all on us and all through us, through energy. We have got to be prepared. We are responsible for our energy. Okay, I'm sorry. I digress. I defer to you, Jennie.
No, I love it. I really like what you said, Sibyl, about we can't be commuting that much. We have to cut down on our imprint here, our carbon imprint. We have to change things. And the way that I see it is we pick the womb we come out of as well as the time frame continuum. So I'm 100% sure, at least in my awareness, my perception, that we are here to experience many things, but one of which was the crumbling of particular pillars that don't hold us anymore, like the patriarchy or capitalism or whatever you want to call it. So we really did choose to be here to experience this, and we all have a different part in it, and we're all going to move through it differently. But the beauty is it was strategic, and we planned to come here together to not only learn individually, but to have a commonality, to come in here and bring heart energy and to flush out ego, or like the name of one of my podcast network, heart over ego, to flip the dynamic. We live in a wildly dynamic planet, ego-based dynamic planet. We're here to shift and change. And like Sonya said, people should want it, but the fear has everyone wanting to fall back to the old, which on some level we can use that as a base, but it's going to have to change. So even if you can get your kids back in school and continue working, you might have to work from home or have a different job, or it has to look a different way. So we just have to accept that change is coming, and it's the only constant, and it's so natural. Like Sibyl was saying, death is a very natural part of living, and we are terrified of it because religion has us thinking fire and brim hell, or spirituality has us confused, or whatever happens. So, yes, I have been looking into a new career adventure. I'm always looking in new businesses and fun things I might want to get into. And Death Dula was brought to me by my spirit guides. Like, you have an understanding of the process of death, and you can help the people that are left after the loved one dies. And it probably looks a little like hospice, but I think it's going to be more of like a death doula that I kind of offer for people. I'm down here in the Southwest, so I'm hoping that I can kind of branch out and cover this area out here. But either way, really bringing awareness to death is as natural as birth. And in the actuality of things, we're cheering to go back home and crying to come here to these physical existences and suffer, but yeah, have joy too. But either way, it's where we belong. We spend most of our time in heaven, or the non-physical, whatever you call it. And these are just little blips. So yes, we have a lot to change, no doubt.
I wanted to add something to that. Oh my goodness. A couple of comments. The first one, when you were saying about, we choose our parents and the time frame that we come to this planet. And I'm so excited. It's like, oh, yeah, I can see me signing up for this. Yeah, that. Oh, yeah. Listen, changing the world, being a part of that, experiencing that. Yes. Okay, now I know what's going on. And I felt alive just when you said that. I'm like, yes, okay, yes, I can definitely see my soul signing up for this. And then you made another comment. Oh, my goodness, and it escapes me right now. Hopefully it'll come back to me. But, you said something about death. What? It was something.
Death doula.
Death doula. Okay, I'm going to come back to that. So the thing about death is it has a bad rap. And the reason it has a bad rap is because energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So it's only recycled. But since we identify with being physical beings, man, when we die, that's the end of it. It's over. And that's what we've been sold. But it's not. That energy gets recycled. Everything gets recycled. Everything that gets